morning, everybody, and welcome back. Feels like we're back home. This is literally where GAKidsTV got its start. I got my counter, and you know, I've had a lot of fun going through the store and going to different departments, but it always feels better here. I think it's because I've got a counter, I've got a workstation. I don't know, maybe it's just because this is the very first place we did it. But I love this area. So now we spoke a little bit about decor and inside, and I wish I was better at that. I'm not. My forte is definitely with living plants and working with them. You know, they say do what you love, right? Even if you're terrible at it. You want to learn? The word amateur comes from the Latin amatore, which means to do something of love. So when you're an amateur, it doesn't mean you don't have to be good. It means that you have to love what you're doing. And I find today, in today's world, especially in social media, when people post a picture, they post the pinnacle, like, oh my God, look how incredible this is. And then we look at it and go, oh, well, I'll never be able to get to that standard. What's the point? Who cares? Who cares what the point is? The point is loving it and enjoying it and doing it. I didn't wake up one day and know how to do things with plants. I've spent decades, literally decades, killing plants and making mistakes and doing everything wrong in order to be able to do a few things right. And I'm like that, you know, I do photography personally. Yeah, I'm pretty good now, but when I started, I was horrendous. I had a good eye, but I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to crop or frame or change things. But I loved doing it. I loved going outside. So don't ever give up. If you enjoy it and you're like, I'm never going to get it. Yeah, you will. Don't look at somebody else's highlight reel and compare your real life to their highlight reel, okay? Everybody is on a learning curve. Everybody needs to learn. And it's totally okay to stop and go, I need help, or can somebody help me? And today's subject, orchids. So I believe in the spring, somebody asked us about orchids, and we had none in. We weren't able to talk about it, and this time we have something in, and I'm going to tell you straight up, I know a fair amount of houseplants, and I know a fair amount of ways to propagate them and have fun with them and care for them, etc., etc. I actually don't know that much about orchids. I know basic care. I know some tips on getting them to rebloom, but orchids aren't my personal favorite, so I haven't invested that much time with them. But just for fun, I have two orchids here, and we're going to discuss orchids today. So, you know, you can see, perfect, they're in bloom. And somewhere on this guy, I think there's a new flower bloom, and here's another one. Oh, boom, fooled you. That's one of the artificial ones. I know, right?
You did it, Colin. Actually, though, I can't even tell the difference.
No, those artificial ones are incredible. Maybe that's the level of orchid I should stay to. But this is the level of orchid that we're going to do. So this is a real orchid. And the first thing you'll notice, or maybe not the first thing you probably notice is the flowers. But when I lift it out, you see these guys here. And these are roots, and they're an air root, and they're called an epiphyte. I really should have Googled that before I try and spell it. I'm really going to have to dig into the depths of my brains here. You know what? Just to show you guys too, I got my phone out, so I want to show you some cool things, but I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to try and spell it. So orchids have air roots, and they are epiphyte, I believe. Don't hold me to that. And essentially, those roots come. Sorry, the other thing I wanted to show you, I put them back, is you can see those roots are exposed all the way down, and it's not actually grown in a soil medium. So I don't know if I can lift. I just need to get it out a smidge. Come on, there we go. Look at that. So it's grown in a moss, and you can see that that's not actually soil. That's literally a moss. It's spongy. It's got everything in. And the reason for that is much like an air plant, which is, you know, as the name suggests, it grows in the air. A lot of the orchids grow in the rainforest, and they actually fall down into trees, and they grow out from the side of a tree. So there isn't any soil all the way up there. So what they do is they live in the bark, and where the tree's breaking down and they get in between it, they live in funguses and mosses and that kind of thing. So literally that's what we're replicating there. So with that being said, and all of this is talking about a bloom for an orchid, but with that being said, that brings us to light, because all of this is very important. Your plant won't bloom unless it's got the right conditions. It might be able to stay alive, but unless it's got the right conditions, it's really not going to have the strength and the energy. Remember, we've talked about the amount of energy it requires to bloom. Well, I mean, look at that amount of blooms. It's going to require the right conditions. So the light, again, if you think about it, if you think about a rainforest and the canopy above it and the dappled sunlight coming through, and another good tell is how big these leaves are. Your orchid does not want direct light. You put this beauty in a south window and it's going to suffer. It really, really is going to suffer. There's going to be too much light hitting those leaves. They're going to burn. They're not going to be able to process enough. So what you want is you want a fairly bright room, but not direct light. You want an indirect light hitting it. And as far as moisture goes, so I think you saw when I lifted this one out, it was wet. You don't want it saturated. You don't want it soaked. But it's not a succulent or a cactus. It can't go for weeks dry either. You want it to dry out between waterings. So when you look at that the moss, and you touch, some people do grow their orchids in a mulch mix, or they put wood chips in with the moss, but this one is a moss. You want it to be, you know, dry-ish to the touch, and then you want to add the water again. You want that water to absorb. You don't want it to be flooded. Okay, basic ones. And then, as a fertilizer goes, any all-purpose houseplant fertilizer. Normally, I should have grabbed one. I didn't even think about it. Normally, a houseplant fert, you're going to see a number like 10, 15, 10. You might see a 15, 10, 10. Something like that. Push comes to shove, you use a 20, 20, 20. It's not going to be the end of the world. All-purpose, but look for an all-purpose houseplant fertilizer. So now, it comes to the blooms, and I want to show you guys something really fun. So Brandy's going to have to zoom in on my phone here. But these are some different orchids, and this one is the Devil's Head Orchid, and these exist, okay? And that is literally a devil head. And then another one that I love is the Monkey Face. And it is exactly what you would think. It is an orchid. Oh, there it is. And I mean this, oh my good Lord, I'm hitting too many things on my phone, right? Apparently I can't dress myself or use the phone properly. And that's a Monkey Face Orchid. And then, there's a cheeky one, and I just can't help myself but to show it. I'm not even looking at Brandy, I'm looking at my phone, and I know I'm getting a shake of the head. I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to show it. And this is, I'm saying it, the Naked Man Orchid. I don't know how they named that one. I don't know where they got the name from. But those are some really unique, very specialty orchids. We're talking about this beauty here. So what eventually will happen with this, like any plant, its blooms will drop. Now, it will bloom for an extended period of time. Best way to keep it blooming is to give it the right conditions. So you don't want the light too low. You don't want the light too hot, especially during these transitional times of year. Orchids hate extreme temperature changes. So next to a window that you open or close regularly, or a door, is normally not a good idea. It likes it warm but not too hot. And actually when its blooms have dropped and it's in that dormancy period, it actually likes it a little bit cooler. So eventually all of these blooms are going to drop. No matter how much you care for it, you're going to lose them. You are not supposed to cut the stem. So I'm going to turn it around and you can see the flower stems. Leave it. When the blooms are completely off, the orchid is going to enter a period of dormancy. And again, we've talked about this, perfect time of year for it, where dormancy does not mean dead, it means that it's sleeping. So your orchid is essentially done, it's going into its restive period. So during this restive period, and we're going to talk more about dormancy. This guy is so cute, by the way, I keep looking at it. Sorry, total segue. But you put fun things on my calendar, Brandy.
I know, it's really cute.
I can't be blamed for segueing into that. And like we said, everything going dormant does not mean it's dead, so it does still need some care. So you want to leave it, you still want it to get that same amount of light. A little bit cooler is fine, but it's still not going to like any kind of temperature swing. I've got spider plants, and literally the temperature will swing. I'll leave them next to a window, I'll leave the window open all night. I'll close the window and they'll be cooking all day, and they do just fine. These guys are slightly more delicate. So you're going to leave these stems, and sometimes they can be dormant for up to 9 months. And I know that's what gets a lot of people. Think of it like a garden perennial. So your echinacea comes up and it blooms for a couple of months and you love it, then it's done. Well, for 9 months you don't expect anything out of it. For 10 months, it's just green, it's alive, in the winter it's covered in snow. Same thing. Let it have its dormant period, and then what you'll see is you'll start seeing from in between the leaves, exactly like you're seeing this guy, you'll see it send up a spike. And this is simply a bloom spike, a flower spike. And once it sends that up, once it gets to a few inches tall, maybe 3, 4 inches, 5 inches, you want to put a stake on it. And then gently tie it or use something flexible like this. You don't want to put something like metal or something unforgiving on it, because as the stem widens, the metal is going to cut into it. You're going to lose your flowers that you've waited 9, 10 months for. So you keep bracing it, just using a spike. I've seen people use chopsticks. I've seen people come in here and buy their spikes. You want to fertilize, again, keep that fertilizer coming, follow the instructions on it. Keep the light the same, keep the moisture the same. Now what you will notice is when it's out of dormancy, you may need to water it more, simply because it's pulling all of that water up now for the energy for its blooms. So always finger check. Don't just assume because it was dormant, it only needed watering once every 2 weeks. That's all it needs. Or when it was blooming, you got to water it once a week. And that's what you're giving it during dormancy. It's always a good idea just to reach in, feel it with your thumb and be like, no, that's pretty dry. And give it a shot of water. Oh, nope, that's still damp, and hold it off accordingly. And that's really all there is to it. Orchids are a lot like roses. People have it in their minds, oh no, they're so complicated. I'm never going to be able to figure them out. You've got to prune them a certain way, and you've got to do this a certain way. Yeah, there's rules to it, but they're not that hard. And like anything, if you want to up your game and get into those specialty orchids, the monkey face and the devil head that we saw, yeah, there might be a ton of new rules with something like that. But with your standard orchid like this, they're not that hard to care for. A lot of the trick is our patience. We see this and we go, oh my God, that's amazing. And we don't want to wait 10 months for it to come back, 9 months for it to come back. I'm not renowned for my patience. Ask anybody who knows me. I'm sure Brandy would testify to that. I can be an impatient chap at times. So give it the time, give it the love it needs, and most importantly, check. And like we said at the beginning, it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to learn. It's okay to ask for help. You buy it, you try it, and it doesn't work, and you didn't ask for any help, and you go, I can't grow orchids. I probably couldn't have either. I asked for help, and I spoke to experts, and I got people to show me things. And people are going to love to give you that advice, and write to us. We'll help you out as well. So that wraps us up for today on orchids. I hope you guys had fun with that one. Maybe we should give an orchid away.
Oh my goodness.
That'd be pretty rad.
That would be really.
Let's do that on Hawaiian Shirt Friday.
Okay.
Let's give away an orchid. I'm going to give away an orchid. Anyway, I just literally thought that right now. My timer's running down. Again, we only get 15 minutes unless you guys like us more, in which case we get a full hour. So get us 10,000 likes, everybody. Lots of love. Hope you had fun. We're going to be back exactly in this location tomorrow talking more about houseplants. Bye, everyone.